The megalodon may have been the biggest, baddest, most ferocious shark to ever swim the ocean, but that doesn't mean there isn't a whole plethora of frightening sea monsters, both modern and extinct, that would give the big boy predator a run for its money. From prehistoric giants, to creepy squids, to deadly worms. The Richest explores real sea monsters even scarier than the megalodon. And luckily, our video today is sponsored by our friends at the Great Courses Plus. So if you like what you see today and you want to learn more, you can start your trial of the Great Courses Plus today absolutely free. We'll provide more details later, but for now, strap on your oxygen tanks and let's dive down to learn more about these demons of the deep. There's a long-extinct ancient sea monster whose fossils have proved utterly perplexing to paleontologists. If you thought sharks were scary before, imagine you're scuba diving and then suddenly you come face to face with a biological buzzsaw. Say hello to the aptly named helicoprion, a creature whose jaw is an evolutionary wonder. Instead of eating like a normal predator, the helicoprion decided that it would rather make use of something called a tooth whorl, a spiral of teeth protruding from the lower jaw that looked more like a circular saw than a set of choppers. The very first fossil fragments of a helicoprion jaw were discovered in 1899, and it took scientists over a century to figure out exactly where the animal placed these teeth. It was previously suggested that this evolutionary oddity may have even grown on the animal's tail or even on the dorsal fin as a line of defense. Recently, though, a team at Idaho University confirmed that this was indeed the lower part of the animal's jaw. Helicoprion, whose name literally translates to spiral jaw, didn't have any teeth on its upper jaw. The team at Idaho suggests that the predatory fish would have broken down its prey by repeatedly slicing them with a single row of serrated teeth. Not a pretty way to go. Their study goes on to say that when the animal closed its lower jaw, the whorl of teeth were pushed backwards, providing an effective slicing mechanism for the blade-like serrated teeth and forcing food to the back of the oral cavity. It's estimated that the helicoprion's lower jaw could have extended past 50 centimeters long, and some of those tooth whorls would have boasted some 150 teeth. It surely must have been a gruesome sight to see an ancient cephalopod be devoured by a living power tool. I don't know about you viewers, but I am glad that helicoprion is extinct. Biblical lore tells us of a behemoth sea monster that the ancient Hebrew people named Leviathan. Leviathan is described as a giant, fast-moving, squirming serpent, or even sometimes as a dragon. It's characterized as untamable and graceful in form, but frightening to look at, with fearsome teeth. Further verses go on to say, "No sword, spear, dart, javelin, arrow, stone, club, or lance can defeat it. It cannot be caged because it breaks iron like straw. Nothing on earth is its equal. It is a creature without fear." That sounds pretty scary, doesn't it? Scholars have long wondered if the Leviathan described in the Old Testament was actually a very large crocodile or a shark or even a whale. Either way, today the word Leviathan has become synonymous with sea monster. Perhaps that's why scientists drew from these ancient horror stories when they began discovering fossils of an extinct behemoth whale. Meet Leviathan melvillei. Named partially for the biblical beast and partially for Moby Dick author Herman Melville, this monster was unlike any other whale before or since. Leviathan lived between 12 and 13 million years ago, and unlike most modern whales who go after much smaller, easier prey, Leviathan was such a bad boy that it preferred to eat other smaller whale species. Leviathan was a massive creature, about the size of a modern sperm whale, meaning that it could grow upwards of about 18 meters long, that's about 59 feet, and weigh as much as 60 tons. The beast fed primarily on ancient baleen whales, and its massive teeth, which grew to the size of a bowling pin, make that easy to believe. All of this, of course, raises the question, who would win in a fight between Leviathan and Megalodon? We'll take a look at this side-by-side comparison. The two species are roughly equal in size, although Megalodon was almost double the weight of Leviathan. Now, would this have been an advantage or a disadvantage? Let us know what you think in the comments. Now try to imagine a creature that chillingly resembled something out of an outer space thriller like Aliens, but lived right here on Earth in modern times. Have you ever heard of a bigfin squid? This oddly ethereal deep-sea creature has so far eluded scientific study, as they are rarely seen and no specimen has ever been captured. However, modern use of submersive, remotely operated vehicles has made it possible to capture stunning footage of the bizarre-looking creature. The bigfin squid is so eerie-looking that some thought video footage of the creature was actually a hoax. However, they are very much real. They've also been nicknamed the long-arm squid. Take a look at the unrealistic-looking length of its tentacles. Scientists are baffled as to why exactly it needs such long arms. As no specimen has yet been studied, we don't know how long those disproportionate tentacles grow. But video evidence suggests that they could reach up to 8 meters or 26 feet in length. You definitely do not want to get caught up in that forest of slimy appendages. Was that a little too creepy? Well, why don't we explore another extinct sea monster to calm the nerves a bit? Although we're not sure the sight of this next monster will do the trick. Existing in the late Jurassic period and resembling something like an odd conglomeration of a whale, an alligator, and a sea turtle, was the terrifying aquatic reptile called Lioplorodon. This frightening creature of the plesiosaur family had a mouthful of razor-sharp teeth and was an unusually fast swimmer. With its 4 broad, flat, long flippers, Lioplorodon could thrust itself through the water at considerable speed. It's estimated that it could swim up to 6.2 miles per hour, that's just under 10 kilometers. To give you a rough idea of how fast that is, the top swimming speed of 23-time Olympic gold medalist Michael Phelps was 0.2 miles an hour slower. Adding to its predatory power was its highly developed sense of smell. By studying skull fossils, scientists surmised that Lioplorodon could locate prey from a fair distance away by their scent. Add that to the fact that its teeth were as long and as sharp as the blade of a Swiss Army knife, and Lioplorodon was a triple threat. Our next sea monster is sometimes described as the Tyrannosaurus of the sea. The long-extinct Dunkleosteus was technically a fish, though you might be able to accurately describe it as a tank. Dunkleosteus was bigger than an elephant. It measured over 10 meters long, that's just over 30 feet. It weighed up to 4 tons, and it had 2 rather unusual characteristics. 1, it was covered in a bony, rock-hard, armored shell. And 2, rather than having teeth, Dunkleosteus had a kind of beak formed of bony plates with sharp points. This vicious carnivorous hunter was one of the largest fish that ever lived. These frightening facts aren't even the scariest thing about Dunkleosteus. The most terrifying fact about this early apex predator was that it had the powerful bite force of 11,000 pounds per square inch. That's almost 5,000 kilograms. And not only that, several of Dunkleosteus fossils have been found with the bite marks of its own species in them, suggesting that this guy wasn't just a killer, but a cannibal as well. Scary sea monsters come in all sizes, and even those smaller than a person can be terrifying. This is Stethoscanthus, a fish that lived over 300 million years ago. Weird, right? Another example of a bizarre evolutionary puzzle. Scientists are baffled by this shark-like creature's physical features. Perhaps small in stature at just 70 centimeters or 2.3 feet long, what makes this creature stand out is that freakish ironing board-shaped dorsal fin protruding from its back and covered in rough, tooth-shaped scales that are also present on the top of its snout. Freakish looking and small, but also a dangerous hydrodynamic predator that posed a constant menace to small fish as well as other smaller sharks. No one knows for sure what these bizarre physical features are for, though the current theory suggests that they act as a sort of visual camouflage that makes Stethoscanthus look like it has a larger, more dangerous mouth than it actually does. You probably didn't think that coming across small creatures in the ocean would be frightening. However, as we just learned from Stethoscanthus, you best be wary of threats of all sizes when out for a swim. Our next sea monster, for example, may be small, but it's still a terrifying monster. Deep in the Marianas Trench lurks the 18-centimeter-long fangtooth fish. Compared to the size of its body, a fangtooth fish has the biggest teeth of any animal living in the ocean. Its huge front fangs give it its name. This carnivorous vampire fish eats just about anything it comes across. What's really super interesting is how it locates its prey. As there is very little light in the depths of the Marianas Trench, the fangtooth evolved with very poor eyesight. It makes up for that shortcoming by making use of something called contact chemoreception. That means that the fangtooth can sense chemical residue that comes off other living organisms in the deep sea. So if they sense it, they eat it. Of all the things you might fear by going for a swim, worms probably are not on your list. But a close look at our next sea creature reveals a real terrifying monster. Deep on the ocean floor, a very patient monster waits for its victims. This terrifyingly ugly critter is the bobbit worm. It sports an array of ghastly features. Those eerie antennae are how it senses its food. When one of them is tripped by an unsuspecting fish, bone-hard grappling hook-like teeth pierce and immobilize their prey. Perhaps even more blood-curdling is what lies beneath the surface. The bobbit worm, also known as the sand striker, is hiding a body that stretches below the ocean floor for as long as a terrifying 10 feet. That's 300 centimeters. Completely blind and lacking a true brain, absolutely every living creature coasting on the seafloor is fair game for this indiscriminate flesh-eating monster, one of the creepiest creatures to ever live in the sea. And now that we've introduced you to some of the ocean's most fearsome monsters, we'd like to introduce you to our sponsor, the Great Courses Plus. If you liked learning about these deep-sea creatures today, then you'll love this subscription-based video learning service. Feed your curious brain by learning about anything and everything from some of the world's greatest Ivy League professors and world-renowned institutions like National Geographic and the Smithsonian. Their easily navigable site contains thousands of online courses in art, history, philosophy, science, economics, literature, and more. There's no homework, no tests, and no pressure. You learn at your own pace, on your own time, and in your own space. And that's not even the best part. You can explore dozens of free lectures on their Great Courses Daily page to test the waters of this incredible mind-expanding service. And you can start your absolutely free trial today at thegreatcoursesplus.com/therichest and be well on your way to earning that doctorate in marine paleontology or whatever floats your brain. That's it for terrifying sea monsters scarier than the megalodon. Would you swim around with one of these bad boys? Would you cross the sea in a wooden ship, knowing that one of these things was under you? Give this video a like if you dare brave it. And don't forget to subscribe to The Richest and join our notification squad. Thanks for watching us, and we'll see you next time.